Hello and welcome back to Click English, everyone. In this ongoing series, I'm going to be analyzing line charts. Three parts have already been released. I'll be analyzing two line chart questions, and we're going to try to figure out what's the best way to analyze the question and how to actually write the main body paragraph of the question in such a way that you can get around 8 bands. So I've picked out two random questions from the internet, and together we are going to solve those questions. Now, if you haven't watched the other three parts of this ongoing video series, then I suggest that you do watch them, because in those videos I have discussed the thought process behind the analysis, on what are the things you need to keep in mind when you're answering a line chart question, and what's the best possible way to write so that you can get 8 bands. Here in this video, I'm just going to straight in jump into the questions and just solve those questions. I'm not going to go too deep into how to analyze the question and the best way to write the body paragraph, because that's something which I've discussed in detail in the previous videos. Now, before we begin, I suggest that you pause the video whenever there's a question on the screen and you try to analyze the question on your own, and maybe even you can try and writing the main body yourself. Afterwards, then you can resume the video and see how I've analyzed the question and how I have presented the main body, and then you can do the comparison, and maybe you can also see what things you need to keep in mind, and what are the areas where you're lacking, and what things you can include in your answer to make it better. Right, so let's begin. Right, so here we have a first question. This question shows a chart which shows changes that took place in 3 different areas of crime in Newport City Center from 2003 to 2012. So on our y-axis we have number of criminal incidents, and on the x-axis we have years. So the first line displays burglary, the second one shows car theft, and this line shows robbery. Now, this is not a very difficult chart to analyze. All we need to do is just look for key features, that is the important features, and try to figure out a way so that when we write our main body, it is very clear and easy to understand. Yes, so here you can pause the video, analyze the question, and try writing a main body on your own, and then you can compare what you've written with what I have written here for you. Okay, so I hope that you were able to pause the video, analyze the question, and write your main body paragraph. So if we look closely at this line chart, we can clearly see that in 2003 the incidents of burglary were just below 3,500, and they rose a bit to about let's say 3,800 in 2004. But after this time period, there was a considerable decline, and by 2008 they went down to about, almost 1,000, and then from 2008 onwards till 2012 they rose a bit, and they reached this figure, which is close to 1,500. Now, when it comes to car theft, there's a different trend altogether. So in 2003 the incidents were around 2,800, and they remained almost around this point of time till 2005, after which they declined a bit. But from 2006 there was a slow and gradual increase, and they went up slowly, and by 2012 the incidents were somewhere around, let's say 2,700 or 2,800. However, robbery was an entirely different story, because we can see that from the start point and the end point that they were largely stable. Right now, if you want to go into depth and if you have time to describe robbery in detail, you can do that as well, and you can say that, from 500, from around 600-700, the number of incidents for robbery rose a bit, after which they fell down in 2008 to about 500 incidents, and then from then on they again increased just a tad bit. So very easy to understand and analyze this line chart, but how will you write and present this information in your main body paragraph? Well, let's see. So here I've written, initially the burglary rate experienced an increase, rising from just under 3,500 incidents in 2003 to around 3,800 in 2004. And this is what has happened. So the incidents were just under 3,500 in 2003, but they rose and went about so approximately 3,800 incidents in 2004. However, this was followed by a significant decline, with burglary incidents dropping sharply from 3,800 in 2004 to around 1,100 in 2008. After this, the rate fluctuated, ultimately finishing at roughly 1,400 incidents. So if you look at this, you can clearly understand what has happened in the line chart. Everything is very clear and easy to understand, right? And so that's what I've done here. I've divided the line into 4 points. I've given figures of only 4 points, but I've also written in such a way that one can understand what has happened between those 4 points, what has happened to the data between these 4 points. Right, between 2003 and 2006, car theft saw a notable decline, decreasing from approximately 29 incidents to 2000. However, after this period, the number of car thefts began to gradually rise again, reaching around 2,700 incidents by 2012. So, as we discussed earlier, this is what happened with the car thefts. This line. And we can see that there was a notable decline, decreasing from 2,900 to 2,000, right? So approximately 2,900 to around 2,000 incidents. After this period, the number of car thefts began to gradually rise again, reaching around 2,700 incidents by 2012. In comparison, the number of robbery incidents was about 500 in 2003. Here's a small error. It should be around 700 or around 600, whatever you think is the right number here. So the number of robbery incidents was around, let's say, 600 or 700 in 2003. Although this rate experienced some fluctuations, it largely remained stable until 2012. So I've chosen not to expand on this data because I have already described the two lines in considerable detail. So I did not feel the need to describe the third line as well in a lot of detail because, well, I only need to focus on key features, right? And also we only have to write 150 words, and I believe that including introduction or overview or even conclusion, my complete answer will be too long if I expand on the third line. So I've chosen not to expand it a lot, but then it's entirely up to you. You can, as I said, divide this into 3 parts and go into more detail, right? But the important thing is that you understand on how to present the data. So in line charts, you only have to mention the important parts, or in any task one, you have to only important parts of the data. So in line graph, you pick out a few points, the start point, the end point, and maybe something in between, and you choose those points and use your language to describe the complete line. So the data has to be very clear, it should be easy to understand, and if anyone reads this, they should be able to visualize the line chart on their own. They do not have to continuously look at the chart themselves. It should be written in such a clear manner that they can visualize the line chart on their own. And if you can manage to write like that, then you can get a very good band score. Here I've also tried to highlight the vocabulary which I've used. So I've used synonyms, as you can see, for increase, rising, significant, decline. I've also chosen adjectives: dropping, fluctuating, decline, decreasing, and these are my connectors to give it a more smoother flow. Right, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, so this is our next question, which is a multiple chart question. We have a line graph and also a bar chart. Now the line graph shows world population growth and the bar chart shows the population in millions for developed region and developing regions. Right? So what you need to do here is describe this in one paragraph and describe this in another paragraph. And once again, choose your points, the important points in the line graph, and describe the complete chart. Now I apologize because I know the picture is not very clear, so before you pause the video, I'll just highlight the years. Here the years are starting from 1800, increasing by 20 years. So the next one is 1820, then 1840, and then 60, and so on and so forth. This is an important part of the line graph. So here the years are 1920 and 1940. This again is an important part. Here it is year 2040 and the graph ends at year 2100. Here we have millions of people, so it is 1000 million people, which is about 1 billion people, right? And this here is 8 billion people. This is 6. So I've already highlighted the important points of the line chart for you. Now I would suggest that you should pause the video here and take a look at both of these charts and try to write a main body paragraph on your own. Okay, so I hope that you were able to analyze it and write the main body paragraphs. Now let's see. So here I've start with the line chart, and I've written that the global population experienced a steady increase from 1800 to 1940. So here I've mentioned the rate of change, and I've mentioned that there was a steady increase from 1800 till the year 1940, rising from 1 billion to around 2.5 billion. Right, so there was a steady increase, and I've stated the figures as well. Following this, after 1940, there was a significant surge in population, and by 2020, it reached approximately 7.5 billion mark. So there was a significant surge after 1940, and by year 2020, I've chosen the year 2020 because it is closer to the time which we are in 2024. I don't know if you're watching this video in future than whatever year it is, but when I'm recording this, it's year 2024. So by 2020, the numbers reached to approximately 7.5 billion. Projections indicate that the world population will continue to rise, peaking at around 8 billion by 2040, before declining to just over 6 billion by 2100. So here I've written that even after 2020, the projections indicate that by year 2040, the population growth will reach its peak. So this is the highest point, and after this, it is projected that the population will go down and will reach around 6 billion in 2100. Right, so this was the line chart. Now I have described the bar chart. So the bar chart illustrates that the population in developed regions is expected to remain stable at around 1.3 billion between 2015 and 2040. So you can clearly see that in bar chart the population remains stable, and I've chosen to give this figure around, will remain stable at approximately 1.3, but we can see that in developing regions it is rising, and so therefore I've written, in contrast, developing regions are projected to witness a substantial growth in population during the same period, increasing from roughly 2.2 billion to 4 billion. So a considerable increase in population for developing regions. This was the analysis of this line chart and bar chart, and before this we also analyzed one more question. So in both the questions I've not gone into too much detail. I've not tried to mention everything which is happening in the line chart or even in the bar chart. I've just chosen the significant parts of the line chart and even the bar chart, and just mentioned the figures here, and have mentioned in such a way that a person can easily understand what is going on in the complete chart. And that's what you need to do. Right, so I hope that you were able to get an idea. I'll be back again with more questions, more analysis in the next video. Alright, so that was it. Those were our two questions. I hope through this video you've understood the structure and the ways how you need to write your answer, how you need to present your answer in order to get 8 bands. Yeah, so stay tuned and I'll be back with more analysis of line chart questions, and soon we'll be covering IELTS general training, task 1 on IELTS general training, essays, and also other parts of task 1 in academic section. So until next time, bye bye.